It's hard to publish videos on Epic Toy Channel when you kind of feel like a criminal making kid content, you know? Also knowing that we took a 90% pay cut, and that's tough. My goal is for them to get clicks. Their goal is to maintain their brand guide. I have a blank canvas with each thumbnail. Everyone wants to buy, no one wants to be sold. When things are heavily branded, it feels salesy and turns people off.
This is Justin Evans. He is the dad mind behind Epic Toy Channel, which has amassed over 2 million subscribers and over 1 billion views. After 3 years of grinding with daily vlogging content, they pivoted to fun kids and toy content, allowing for him to quit his job after just 6 months. Then, just as they had hit 1 million subscribers, YouTube pulled the rug out from underneath them. In this episode, we are going to discuss his path from vlogger to kids content, how the Children's Online Protection Act cost them over 90% of their income, why and where they were able to diversify their income, how they started a new business that supports YouTubers that is going to be the future of their income, and what exactly is the secret to YouTube thumbnail success. Justin isn't playing around in this episode as he shares his experience with being a kid creator turned entrepreneur. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by GigaStar. The man, the myth, the beard. I'm so excited to spend time with you today, Justin. How are you?
Doing well, Desiree. How are you?
I'm awesome. I think the best way for us to start off our interview today, because you have a journey to share with us today, is what did you create in the internet and what are you creating now?
On YouTube, the biggest thing we created is a channel called Epic Toy Channel. And we started it in 2014 after years of struggling as vloggers, years of struggle. Epic Toy Channel 2014. Today it has over 2 million subscribers, over 1 billion views, and a whole lot of fun. And then in 2018, we started a company called CustomThumbnails.com, where we make primarily thumbnails for everyone.
Like one of just like the most important parts of your video. No NBD, right? NBD. We're going to talk about like how that happened at a future date for sure. But talk to us about the financial journey of Epic Toy Channel. Like, why were you struggling and failing at vlogging, and what made you pivot into this?
Yeah, we started vlogging in 2010 on 2 different channels every day for literally 3 years. I mean, it was a grind. And why did we pivot to toys? Well, and kid content. Well, I mean, after getting nowhere, working that hard as a vlogger, right? There came a point where we just hung up our hat and said, never mind. And then one day I'm looking around the house at my kids' toys and I thought, wow, I could film these and play with them. And then I started doing research and there were people doing this. I had no idea. There were people making kid content. And in terms of money, I think it was about 6 months after we started that channel, I was able to quit my job. I mean, it just took off. And in terms of money, I would say in its heyday, 75% of the revenue that we made was from AdSense. Another 25% was brand deals and creating content for brands, not just on our channel, but on their channels. Long story short, that's how it looked.
Why did you stop vlogging?
I mean, every day on 2 channels for 3 years. The bigger of the 2 channels got like 9,000 subscribers. It just wasn't getting anywhere. It wasn't meant for us. We weren't meant to be vloggers, and that's okay. And it's a tough pill to swallow after you work so hard on something, but we just had to quit.
I'm really fascinated by this process of like choosing to quit doing something. Like, it's very hard to let go of something that big that you've been working on. And I'd love to know more about like why you made that decision. Was it just because you weren't getting anywhere? Is it because there wasn't money? Is it because it was just too exhausting? Like, why quit?
Because there was something better in store for us and we didn't know what it was, but it just didn't feel right. We were, every family trip we planned was around, VidCon or a collab opportunity. We put everything we had into these 2 vlogging channels, and it just reached a point, and we probably did it 2 years longer than we should have. It just reached that point where we said, you know what, this is not working out.
Epic Toy Channel. Tell us about the kind of content you make over there. Like, who is it for? How are you monetizing it? What's the money around it? Like, break down the business of that YouTube channel.
Totally. And I'll preface this by encouraging anyone who wants to create content, but I would caution you to avoid an audience that's 13 or under because of COPPA. It's a pain. And so ultimately, who's the audience? kids 13 and under. It's Nerf battles, it's movie reviews, it's video game playing, Roblox. We've done some Fortnite. It's DC Comics and Marvel. It's that kind of stuff. And we're currently pivoting. We're trying to pivot right now to do more game focused content. But, COPPA, speaking of money, in 2020, the FTC said, wait a second, YouTubers, you guys are competing with Disney and Netflix, and they're not happy about it. So we're no longer going to allow kids to get targeted ads in the name of privacy for children. So now kids will see age appropriate ads before kid content, but they'll also see ads for horror films or pharmaceuticals or the brake shop down the street or political ads, things that kids just aren't interested in. And some of these ads could be harmful to kids. I mean, geez, some of these horror movies, some of the trailers,
I feel too young to see them sometimes, so I get it.
Yes, it's what nightmares are made of. So
Literally.
yeah. So, in 2020, I think we were at Disneyland celebrating either 1 or 2 million subscribers. And then we got the news that COPPA was being enforced and kind of took the wind out of our sails.
What was that? Like, what happened? What was the story of COPPA? I mean, it was like over 4 years ago. So like, what was that whole journey?
Ultimately, it was about competition, and it was the same year that Disney Plus was released. My family was making videos with our cell phone that were getting 10, 20, 30 million views a month. And this is, sure, conspiracy theorist a little bit in me, but where Disney, Nickelodeon, Netflix, all these companies, they have giant crews, they've got teams, they've got cameras that are more expensive than my house to create content. But some of us, can create content with our cell phones in our backyard, getting millions of views a month. They didn't like the competition, I guess. They said it's in the name of privacy for children, but I don't buy that for a second. Well, privacy, we're Desiree, you and I are both parents. We want our kids' personal information to remain private, and we care for the well-being and safety of our kids. But serving targeted ads to kids isn't about privacy. That's about making sure that age-appropriate content is delivered to them. So it's hard to feel motivated to publish videos on Epic Toy Channel when you kind of feel like a criminal making kid content, like totally wholesome. You can check it out. Totally wholesome Nerf battles and video game playing, but also knowing that we took a 90% pay cut, and that's tough.
COPPA is a Children's Online Protection Act. And this is when Google got hit with like $175 million fine because they were accused by the FCC of putting targeted ads to children. And the concept behind it is that like, I'm a mom, I'm doing stuff, and I hand my kid the phone with Netflix, and they're just watching stuff. And hopefully it's kids content, and that data is being collected. And Google's like, well, I mean, we could totally like work with Disney, Nickelodeon, all these toy companies, and just put those ads in front of that kind of content specifically that we know these kids are watching, even though it might be under their mom or dad's like YouTube channel. And so now when you upload your videos, that's why you have to mark if this content is or is not for children. If it is for children, like comments are turned off. I think ads are turned off. Like
we still get ads, they're just not targeted. Now some are contextual, but they haven't fully rolled out the contextual ad platform yet.
And I find it so interesting that they do that because like I remember even like as a kid myself growing up watching Nickelodeon, Disney, Saturday morning cartoons on like my local stations, and all those advertisements were specifically for me as a kid. So it seems rather hypocritical that like TV advertisers can do this, but like the internet can't do it when it's like what advertisers also want. And so it's just really interesting. Like I'm with you, like conspiracy web madness that would cause this to happen.
Right. And I would say that it just truly doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. At all. And, thankfully we've syndicated our content on Roku, on Apple TV, on Amazon. We're making more money off of YouTube than we are on YouTube, which is pretty cool. We're signing a contract next week that's going to syndicate our content throughout Europe on traditional television and smart TVs. And so there is still a world of opportunity available, and that's reassuring.
So after the initial shock of realizing, crap, 90% of my household income is gone because it's your job, right? How did you recover from that? Like, what was your game plan from that?
Well, in 2018, I was hanging out with my family and we were talking about our success and like what made us successful is with a family kid channel versus vlogging. And we thought, man, you know what? It's mostly about those thumbnails. So I jumped on GoDaddy and bought customthumbnails.com for $10 in 2018, which is so funny to me. And what it means is there's so much low hanging fruit. There's so much opportunity that's untapped even today. Very exciting. So how did we recover? Well, custom thumbnails was rocking and rolling. I mean, we had done customthumbnails.com for 4 years at that point. So thankfully, we had diversified and managed to make those moves beforehand.
For those who don't know, Custom Thumbnails is a
Premier agency for thumbnail design for content creators.
yeah. I mean, the reason I know Justin is because he makes all the thumbnails for my YouTube channel, and he has for years. And it's a very smart service. It was so funny when I was researching for our call today. I went and looked up like there's got to be other services that specialize in this, and there's not. When I searched for like thumbnail services, I got like other graphic design services like Design Pickle and things like that. And as much as like I have a very vast graphic design background, like I've been doing this since like 2001, and I'm like thumbnails make me crazy because it's such a very specific art to be successful. And so, like working with professionals like you guys, where you can put together, organize the creative, and make it all work together, is like really impactful and really necessary. Why do you think this is such a need in the creator space?
A thumbnail design?
Yeah.
I mean, it's your billboard, it's your movie poster, it's your book cover, it's the reason someone's going to watch your video or not. And once they click the thumbnail, that's hopefully we delivered, the relationship between us as the design agency and the client. Hopefully our collaboration made it so that the delivery in the video is representative of the thumbnail design, because we don't want to deceive anyone. We want clickbait, but it needs to be ethical clickbait, right? And so we have to be honest about it. But it's just the gateway to someone watching your video. My favorite story is one of our top videos on Epic Toy Channel. Has 30, 40 million views, and we published it, and the video fell flat. And we're sitting there because when you upload a video once a week or twice a week, you kind of know the cadence of what to expect the first few days. This one fell flat, and then Cassie said, "No, I think we need to go with my idea for the thumbnail." So we swapped it out, and immediately the video took off. And I have so many stories like that with my channel, with my clients' channels. Very important.
So what do you think is the like formula for a really good thumbnail?
The good news about YouTube that most people don't realize is the answers are all there. The answers are in your analytics. The answers are in studying your competition, though I don't think, channels in our niche we're not really competing with, we're sharing audiences with, but the answers are all there. So what is the recipe behind a great thumbnail? It kind of depends on your niche, your category. I guess overall, ask a question. Have the thumbnail ask a question that people are begging to get answered. And the only way they can get that question answered is by clicking on your video.
I also loved when you and I were working through like how to figure out what design like to do. One of the initial challenges that you gave me is like, what emotion do you want people to feel when they see your thumbnail? And I was like, that's a really great way to like look at it. So I know when I send my notes, I'll say like, I want them to feel this. And it's usually like curious or relieved or shocked. Usually the face, we provide the faces of like, with all the, the kind of stuff that we have. And it's like finding the right one to go with it. And I think that's an important thing to do as well. I think there's also some like interesting things about thumbnails that's so progressive over the years too, is like how the industry of thumbnails has evolved. Everyone's like, big terms of Mr. Beastification of thumbnails, like bright, crazy, huge open mouth, right? Like I've even had plenty of those videos where it's like, look, there's my tassels. But, and now I feel like we're entering into this like more simpler, photo driven sort of style when like we're recording this and stuff. I think that, what are your thoughts on like how thumbnails kind of dictate the mood and tone of what's happening on YouTube?
Yeah, no, totally. You're right. Overall, it seems like thumbnails are going more minimalistic in a lot of ways. And yeah, the tone of the thumbnail completely dictates that question that people want answered that will, have them click or not. It is really interesting. And we're trying to not make thumbnails for 2024. We're trying to think ahead to 2025 and really push the envelope. Because you're right. If you look at thumbnails that were common on YouTube a year ago, they look dated now. They look
Right?
really dated.
Oh my God, mine looks so crusty. So crusty.
Yeah. 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 It's funny. It's funny, but the answers are all within YouTube and within our competitors, and just studying what others are doing and finding ways to do it better.
Now, why are thumbnails so important to our income?
Well, if people aren't clicking, they're not watching, right? And if they're not watching, we're not making money. So it's everything.
I have so many questions about thumbnails. Like, that has to do with money that is so important. I think I want to tie this into like that whole brand sort of question. One of the things that I run into, because I am much more on like the business side of YouTube, and I'm not talking about like the business of YouTube. I'm talking about like people who are in business
Yeah.
that are like,
Yeah.
I should figure out this YouTube thing for business. And one of the things that's so ingrained in companies is like all of their pre-existing quote unquote like needs, their brand boards, their objectives, their logos, their fonts, their colors. And oftentimes if it's like 50-50 crapshoot, like if it would work well on a thumbnail or not. Like they always want to have like their logo on there. They always want to have their colors on there. They always want to have their fonts on there. Sort of, what is that saying? It's like it gets in the way of a good thumbnail. It's sort of like, don't let like your agenda get in the way of a good story, or the truth get in the way of a good story. Like that whole like funny fable Wild West term kind of thing. How do you I also find that when I have had videos that are sponsored and like there's like a brand logo on there or something like that, those also don't do as well. What are your thoughts on that whole business of YouTube agendas, all that kind of stuff when it comes to this? And like, how do we marry the two?
That's a great question. And it's a conversation I have regularly with clients. And ultimately, this is where a traditional graphic designer and marketing team and I would kind of battle, because my goal is for them to get clicks. Their goal is to maintain their brand guide, right? For a kid channel, extreme example, for a kid channel like Epic Toy Channel, I'm not going to stay true to my brand. I'm not going to have, I don't know, scantily clad people in the thumbnails, right? That's not true to our brand, right?
Yeah.
So I don't include those things in the thumbnails. However, I have a blank canvas with each thumbnail that we create that doesn't need my logo, doesn't need a brand's logo, doesn't need any of that stuff. And I can still stay true to my brand. I won't name names, but we have clients who are big corporations who want their logo on the thumbnail, but you only have so much real estate, especially when you're looking at a thumbnail on a phone. And so the marketing people are like, no, we need the logo. But at the end of the day, if the client's not getting clicks, we're going to lose a client, right? So not to say that you can't have logos on a thumbnail, because you can. There's times that it could work, but everyone wants to buy, no one wants to be sold. Okay. So if someone is seeing a thumbnail, for example, that's heavily branded with logos and things and it feels super corporate, they're probably not going to click. That's a general statement, because if it's a tutorial video, then sure. When things are heavily branded, I think it feels salesy and turns people off.
Why do you think it is though that brands like hold so steadfast to that, where they're like, it literally just almost becomes a battle between like, do you want conversions or do you want your brand on it? And it sometimes, I think for them, it's a real existential crisis. How do you conquer that?
And again, sometimes logos and thumbnails are very important and useful, but why are people still paying for ads in yellow pages? I have no idea. like they still deliver those. That's crazy.
I got one this year. Like, oh my gosh. I
Yeah,
was
they're
like,
huge.
it was like this big, but I also live in a town with a lot of old people.
Okay, well then
makes
that
sense.
might make sense.
Makes sense.
But oh my gosh, yeah, I got one delivered the other day. It was like 2 or 3 inches thick. Couldn't believe it. So why do some brands feel that way? Probably old school thinking. Probably the fact that you don't know what you don't know. And so
Yeah.
sure, try it with the logo, try heavily branded, and then A/B test with one that's not like that and see which one performs.
I think that that's the best way to really conquer over that. Okay, so custom thumbnails is the service that you guys started that made sure that like when you guys lost that massive amount of income from your AdSense back in 2018, like you guys were good. What have you been doing with your channel specifically to help build up revenue from that so it can be sustainable and keep working for you?
Syndicating content outside of YouTube, it's been huge. We make more money off of YouTube than we do on YouTube these days with that content, which is crazy.
So you got to walk us through, what is syndication? How does it work? How do we make money from it? Because we haven't talked about that here.
There are different companies who will syndicate you to various OTT platforms. What does OTT stand for? Don't know. But basically, if you go to Roku and you search for Happy Kids TV, you'll find Epic Toy Channel on there. And so kids will watch Epic Toy Channel on the Happy Kids TV app. Roku and Happy Kids TV would be considered a OTT platform. So we've contracted with 2 companies to syndicate us throughout the US and Europe. And it's pretty hands-free for us. They just take the content, they download the thumbnail, and they're on their way.
How does the money part of that work? Like, how do you make money from syndicating to these other platforms? Like, does a platform pay you? You get paid for views? Do you get paid on ads that are played on those platforms? Like, walk us through that income system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So most the platforms are free. Some are paid. If it's a paid one, then you get a fractional amount depending on how many people are watching your content. The free ones, yeah, there are ads that run between videos. And it's not really ad heavy either. I mean, I'll see an ad every 5 to 10 videos, and they're quick ads. So yeah, we get paid quarterly, and it's been great.
What are the kinds of content that you think have the best syndication opportunity? Like, obviously you're in the entertainment and toy space. And when I think about what you're doing, I think of like the Blippies, the Ryans, the Coco Melons of the world. What are other kinds of brands that could have that kind of reach?
That's a really good question. I think how-to type videos could. The how-to, niche is wide. It could be house DIY stuff to technology. I mean, it's pretty wide. But the other cool thing is with programs like uscreen.tv, anyone can have their own app. And that's pretty exciting.
For those that don't know, Uscreen is like a video subscription membership service. Like, you pay to have the platform and you use it to upload your videos, your content, and it's pay to have access to it. And they'll make an app for you. And the app isn't like an app on your phone. It is totally an option. But it's also an app that you can put on like Fire, Roku, Apple TV. And then it's like you can push your audience to like, go download my app onto your platform. And then people can watch you and consume you in those kinds of way. And I also feel like there's something that happens within those internal systems that also helps like with revenue and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our audience is a little young for Uscreen, but with custom thumbnails and the mentorship things that we're doing, we're heavily considering joining.
How do you think people find syndication options? Like, do you just go look up like YouTube syndication and see what Google finds for you?
Yeah. I mean, people reached out to us, but yeah, you just Google OTT syndication and see what comes up.
But the OTT is over the top. I looked it up. Over the top platforms, which I think is weird. Very circusy.
Yeah.
All right. So I always like to ask a couple of questions. You already told us about like your horrible money situation where like YouTube took away 90% of your income from your AdSense because of COPPA. I would really love to know about like one of your most successful financial moments that you have had for your YouTube channel.
Listen, this is so exciting. And the reason it's exciting is if I can do it, literally anyone can do it. So many times we would own the search results for major brands. I mean, let's see here. Paw Patrol, Spin Master. We were one of the top Paw Patrol content creators out there, if I might say so myself. And so
give me that Spin Paw Patrol money.
Yeah, make that Paw Patrol money. Paw Patrol is on a roll. So Spin Master flew me to LA and Toronto this is 6 years ago, to talk to their marketing team about videos and Paw Patrol and stuff. And it was a moment where they're like, whoa, these people are doing Paw Patrol on YouTube better than we are. My words, not theirs. They're great, lovely people. But it was a moment where it's like, wait, we need to talk to this guy. Like, what's going on here? Same thing with DC Comics. We owned so much of the search juice for different DC comic figures that when they released a new product, they're like, wait a second, we can spend a lot of money on ads, and I'm sure they did, or we can pay these guys to make some videos for us. And man, if I could just go back and say, hey, 8-year-old me, hey, 8-year-old Justin, one day they're going to pay you to play with Ninja Turtles. Like, oh my gosh, that's so exciting. It's so exciting.
That's amazing.
The other thing is like DreamWorks. This was a cool moment. DreamWorks.tv or DreamWorks TV had this show, it still might be out, called Dino Trucks. They're
Oh yeah.
dinosaurs, but they're trucks. And they paid us to make videos on our channel with dino trucks. And then they said, hey, can you do that same thing, but on the DreamWorks channel? So here I am, college dropout Justin, with my family, making content for DreamWorks? What alternate universe do we live on? Like, this is so crazy. Time and time again, brands would reach out with opportunities, and it was very, very, very exciting. And so someone might say, well, Justin, yeah, it didn't work out though because of COPPA. And Justin, I have a YouTube channel, but not a kid channel. Good. Don't have a kid channel. Don't have a kid channel. Keep working in your niche because the opportunities are immense. Immense.
There's a couple things about what you just said, like with not having kids. I think you have a kid channel, but you just have to have the right monetization strategy attached to it, completely void of AdSense. And you and I know, as people who spend time on the tube a lot, your ads, your money strategy should definitely not be linked to AdSense. Like, I can't tell you how many creators I have talked to. They're like, I had more views than I ever had last year, and my AdSense were cut down by like 60%. So, like, you can't rely on that system. But second of all, I think what you said is important. Like, what I'm hearing you say is like, when you know you're good at, which in your case is like toys, and you can like become an expert in that industry, you're gonna get the attention of those companies that you're talking about. Like, I had this exact same experience happen with me with StreamYard. Like, I did a whole series in 2019 about live streaming, and I talked about the different like the different live streaming platforms and how to do stuff. What happens? March, the world shuts down. April, who has the only how to use StreamYard tutorial on YouTube? This girl right here. That was me.
Yes, that's what I'm
And so
talking about.
overnight, I was like, boom. And I was like, okay, clearly people need help with this. And so I did this, like, I called it, what is it? Like, I did a blitz week. I called it blitz week. I did every day a video on like how to do specific things on StreamYard because I knew they were the most common problems. And what I did to give a lot of extra value. Because like the thing at the time that StreamYard was so unique that you could do custom overlays. Like that was the whole thing that made them unique. There's so many things. There's like the main one. And that was why I actually initially had gone on to StreamYard, was because I wanted to live stream, but I wanted to make custom graphics. Like as a designer, I'm like, I need my stuff to look slick. I want it branded. I want to look good. I want like CNN level quality, like bottom thirds and corners and stuff. And so I made them all. And so what I did is I made a bunch of templates and a bunch of different colors for all the overlays and the backgrounds. And I gave them to people for free. I was like, hey, started this video. I'm gonna teach you this thing. Go grab my overlays. And I built up my own StreamYard email list of over 6,000 people
Oh my gosh.
just by giving away those overlays. And lo and behold, when StreamYard was in their growth phase, I reached out to Gage. I was like, dude, I'm doing this thing. And he's like, dudette, like, let's get you doing the things for us. And so it's just how those things work. When you can become a pro at something, an expert at something, you can do something really well, like you are going to be able to turn that into a marketable skill that you can use in other places. There are so many people that you and I both know that have done this in these really unique, different ways. It's not just about making money with your little channel, with your little thing. You now have a skill and an ability that others don't have. And brands from the business side, they just don't have the time to figure it out. And so they would much rather go to experts who are already doing great, especially about their own content, and just like make it like give them the leg up and help them skip a bunch of those beginner steps.
Yeah, I love that story that you shared. And I think the opportunities are so much bigger than anything that most people could imagine. I mean, even custom thumbnails, we're month to month, right? We treat our clients well, hoping they'll come back each month. Why, probably in September, October of last year, this major news agency reached out and they said, hey, we need this number of thumbnails a month, and it's hundreds. And we need most of them rushed. And so I'm like, okay, yeah, fine. And they sent me the contract and I said, oh, this is a year contract and you guys are paying 20% extra. Like, no, month to month, and you don't need to pay extra. It's like, no, this is what we're doing.
You don't have say over that.
What? What? That's crazy. The opportunities are so immense. This is such a great time to be alive. And can you imagine explaining this to our parents or grandparents? Like, it's wild.
It took so long for my family to understood what I do. I don't think my dad truly understood that I could make a living doing what I'm doing until I bought a house. Like, it
Sure.
took that long for
Sure.
him to be like, "You got this." Like, "Yes, yes, I
Sure.
do."
Sure.
But I was the girl that they said, "Really smart, talks too much in class." Like, I wish I could go tell Desiree, "It's okay. You can keep talking and being loud. You're gonna talk for a living."
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
So it's just so funny. Usually go over the different income streams that you have gone through in your creator journey. And you have like kind of two sides to this. You've already shared with us one of them, which is your pie chart of two things: 75% AdSense and 25% was just with your brand partnerships. Where are you sitting now? I think not even just as like your YouTube channel with the toys, but like where are you sitting as a business, like with your income stream?
Well, with YouTube or Epic Toy Channel, it's, mostly like I mentioned, OTT. So that would be ad revenue. With custom thumbnails, it's the subscription service and the mentorship that we do.
Are you still doing brand partnerships?
With Epic Toy Channel, not really. I mean, we've tried to pivot a few times and we're still trying to find our groove, new gaming content that we're playing with, but we haven't done a brand deal probably in 2 years.
What are you doing with Epic Toy Channel? Why you continue to do it? Like what's financially motivating you?
I have a 6-year-old little boy who wants a diamond play button. That's really what it's about.
That seems like a valid reason.
We put so much time into it, and it's hard to walk away from something that you put that much time into. But look, here's the other problem with kid content. The kids who subscribed in 2014, 2015 aren't into the same things that they were into back then.
No.
They keep getting older. So that's another
Jerks.
issue that I see with kid content.
Jerks. I tell my kids all the time, stop it.
Yeah.
Growing
Right.
up's the trap. Don't do it. They know it.
Right.
Very strict
Yeah.
rule in our house. Do you guys do anything with like physical products, creator funds on other platforms, anything like that?
Before COVID hit, we were in New York City for the annual toy fair, and we were talking to toy manufacturers to make toys about our brand and surprise eggs and cool stuff like that. But then, COVID happened, COPPA happened, and it kind of fizzled. But yeah, I mean, at one point we had T-shirts and things like that available.
To the person that wants to build a family friendly, kid friendly brand, but they're like, in order for me to make this work, there has to be some sort of revenue to it long term that I can see to make this sustainable. What is the business plan that you suggest to them?
When we started to get success with Epic Toy Channel, many people that I know and love started kid type channels. And I was talking to one of these people yesterday, and they pulled up their AdSense, and there were a couple months that they made $100,000. I think it was 107,000 on the biggest month on AdSense. I mean, that is wild. So
Was this after COPPA?
this is right before COPPA.
Okay.
This is right before COPPA. But, now her months are 10, 20 grand on AdSense. When it comes to kid content, it's hard because in my perspective, you do really rely on those brand deals and AdSense, because you can't have I guess you could have an app and have the kids' parents pay for the app or something, but it's a different world. Like Ninja Kids has done well at venturing out to, products. They have products, I think, at Target and Walmart. There are opportunities for products on store shelves, but for most people in the kid space, honestly, I hate to say it, but it's going to come down to AdSense
Syndication, I would think too.
and
Like,
syndication. Yeah.
do you think there's any like opportunity for like building a list? Like, is there any suggestion for that kind of thing? Like, can you tell them, hey, go get on our email list to like
So that's where COPPA
get
would come in,
something?
and you can't, like, you really can't ask for. I guess you could say, hey, have your parents fill out this form, but
Yeah.
it's just really dicey territory.
It's really unfortunate, especially because like you have a kid that wants to be a creator and you want it to be sustainable and stuff for them. And I love that you're like, I do it because my kid wants the diamond play button. And I think that's totally like Val, my daughter's name, she's 8. She walks around with her phone, like vlogging and recording herself singing and dancing all the time. And I'm like, just
Yeah.
keep going, have fun. I'm sure someday I'll have to have the conversation with her about like starting a YouTube channel, but
Yeah.
it's a whole thing. I want to ask a follow-up question to this because you talk about kids channel and you have your kids. How are you raising YouTube kids? Like, what's that whole journey like? How do you keep them humble and normal in some way, shape, or form? Like, what is it like for them?
For whatever reason, I was blessed with the greatest kids, and I know every parent says that, but I don't know the answer. They're just great. I've tried to mess them up, but no, I'm just kidding. They're just fantastic. I don't know what to say. Like, you know, you do your best as a parent and you hope that your kids turn out okay. And they're still very young, but I would say in the early days we gave them nicknames because we were just starting out. Like Rocket, my 13-year-old, was 6 months old when we started on YouTube in 2010. Might have even been younger than that. So we came up with a nickname. Instead of Rocket, we would call him Johnny. And my daughter, her nickname was Zoe, and then the little one was Milo, just because we didn't know. And we'd go to Disneyland or grocery store, and people would occasionally come up and say, "Hey, Johnny," and that was our sign to him to know, like, this might be a safe person, but they don't know you from real life. Because if Desiree, if someone knows your kid's name, then your kid assumes that they're safe or like they're a family friend or something.
Yeah.
So that's why we gave them code names for years. And I think it was a year ago or so that the kids are like, no, let's not. Let's use our real names now. We don't want these fake names. So in terms of like protecting them, that's one of the things we did.
What are your thoughts on the whole situation that's happening where it's like these creator kids like were forced into it and their parents spent all their money and they don't have anything to show for it and all this kind of stuff? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, and how are you dealing with that?
It's a great question. I think that there are a lot of terrible people doing terrible things, you know, in the name of stardom that are ultimately going to harm their kids. It's important that kids are fairly compensated. Yeah, I'm hearing more and more and more of these things. So it's just a matter of making sure your kids are fairly compensated and having a third party say what is fair and what isn't fair. I think that's really important.
I couldn't agree with you more. All right, Justin, what is your next 20 move? What you doing next? What's on the horizon for you?
We are expanding customthumbnails.com like crazy in terms of services offered to our clients. We're soon going to launch we have a mentorship program that's very in-depth, but we are soon launching a mentorship coaching program to where there will be an app and you can, for a low fee, like $100 a month, you can talk to me or others in like asynchronous video chat, which will be really cool. I'm really looking forward to it.
That's amazing. How exciting, Justin. Well, thank you for everything that you do. And you can find links to all the stuff that Justin talked about, including links to custom thumbnails and to his YouTube channel over in our show notes at thefundedyoutuber.com. Justin, thank you so much for your time, your talents, all that you do to make the internet a more profitable place. Until next time. Peace. The Funded YouTuber is brought to you by GigaStar, a parent company of GigaStar Market, an SEC-registered funding portal and member of FINRA. Learn more at gigastar.io. Music provided by APM Music, unrivaled music to bring your stories to life. Neither GigaStar nor its affiliated companies provide legal, regulatory, financial, or tax advice. Any opinions expressed herein are those of the authors and are the informational purposes only. The information and opinions expressed herein are subject to change without notice and do not take into account the particular investments, objectives, finance situation, or needs of any specific investors.